by British politicians Boris Johnson's mother, who is in the same institution. How freaky is that? Do you know who chose that artwork and why it was chosen? I heard it was Alex. And did the band pay a fee for it? The museum is aware of the connection but couldn't provide any info for me. And I'm glad you guys and your listeners can fill in the gaps. Warm regards from Bromley, England. Rob Hutchinson. I'm sorry, his name is Hutchinson, not Hutch. I apologize. Well, Rob, I want to let you know that not only are we not going to provide that answer for you, we went out of our way to get Noel Monk, the ex-manager for Van Halen from 1978 to 1985, to answer that question for you. And here he is right now. Wanted to ask you, one of our listeners wrote in a question and only you could really answer. They wanted to know about the Van Halen Fair Warning album cover from 1981. Obviously, that photo on the cover is a portion of a very large painting by an artist, and it wanted to see what the band had to go through to be able to use that piece of his painting.
Well, Al came up with the idea.
Okay.
And it was interesting. A couple guys fighting in the street.
Right.
A good Al type of look. You know, that was one of the only album covers he did. And I had my lawyer, he was a pretty famous artist, I forgot his name, kept the rights for, I think it was about a quarter of the picture. And everything went along fine, and the guy didn't know who we were. And he found out, and he went crazy. He called his lawyer and said, "Get that artwork back. Get rid of all those album covers," which wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And there's paperwork in there which explains that. You know, we just told him to make another piece of art that he would like better.
By the way, that artist from the Fair Warning thing is William Kurilek. He's no longer alive, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he'd still sue us.
Hopefully that satisfied you there, Mr. Hutchinson. We want to thank you so much for listening to us, and I want to say cheerio, good mate. Enjoy listening to the podcast.
Because I'm just sure how much everybody from England loves to hear the Yanks from the States say that to them.
Well, what should I say? Be like, yo, man.
Thanks. You should say to him what you would say to anybody else.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening to the podcast.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. I apologize. I
swear it's tough keeping you grounded, Dave. I gotta tell you.
You know what it is? That I wake up and I'm shot out of a cannon, and you are cranky. That's the difference. Okay, so now, Dave, I'm gonna actually, since you're so cranky, I'm gonna cheer you up a little bit here.
I'm not cranky. I'm just trying to keep international relationships with our fans intact.
You're our international liaison.
Wow, that's frightening on many levels. Levels, but continue.
You are the foreign policy officer of the Dave and Dave Unchained podcast.
Well, then, just hit the red button now, because we're all doomed.
When the next letter, number 5, comes from your buddy Dave, Midwest Ron. How do you like that?
Oh, what'd we screw up this time?
Well, Dave, I gotta be honest. And I have been waiting for this day for a long time.
Oh, I was wrong.
Oh, yes. And you are going to get a nice beating. So, Wait a second. Let me read it. So, okay. Ron says, I've been listening to the latest cast, and I know I was called out 3 times so far. I can't address everything yet, but I do want to say that the verdict on Girl Gone Bad being played in the 2012 tour, Dave M. said maybe during rehearsal, but not played. Dave C. is correct. Girl Gone Bad was played on a regular set list in 2012 on a different kind of truth tour. Midwest Ron. So I have nothing but this to say, Dave. Kneel before Zod.
No, and I believe you found a video of that on YouTube that you sent to me.
That's right.
So yes, I was completely wrong on that one, and just blanked out completely, but I'm glad they dug deep into the catalog to grab that one. So happily wrong on that one.
Absolutely. A gentleman by the name of Dog Pound Nuke on Twitter. he tweeted me the actual physical set list from Pittsburgh, which is really cool. It's the actual physical set list that was printed up and is on the door there, and is Unchained, Running with the Devil, She's the Woman, Romeo Delight, Tattoo, Everybody Wants Some, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Chinatown, Jamie's Crying, Pretty Woman, Drum Solo, You Really Got Me, Blood and Fire, Dance the Night Away, I'll Wait, Hot for Teacher, Woman in Love, Girl Gone Bad, Beautiful Girls, Ice Cream Man, Panama, Guitar Solo, Ain't Talk About Love, and Jump. So what a set list that was.
Yeah, especially Blood and Fire, because that was not played.
Not much at all. Not much at all. So we are on to number 6, and that is Ryan Clark. Now, this is fun, Dave. Listen to this. I am a 21-year-old college student who's a huge fan of Van Halen. Therefore, I love your podcast. Obviously, I was not alive to see the original Van Halen, but I was lucky enough to see them on the second show of the 2015 World Tour. I don't think that was a world tour, but it was a tour nonetheless.
Well, I think they call it a world tour, and then when they go to someplace like Canada, it qualifies as the world in their eyes.
Good point. That's true. And he says, I want to thank you guys for putting together such an informative and entertaining podcast about my favorite band. You really provided me with a lot of insight I couldn't have gotten elsewhere. That being said, I would like to get both your opinions about a moment at the final show of the 2015 tour in Hollywood Bowl. There was a heartfelt sentiment issued by Dave to Eddie and Alex by saying the best moments of my life have been spent on stage working with you. Following it up with a hug that was returned by Eddie. Below is the link and a timestamp for that moment. And he gives us the little clip for that. And he says, I'd love to get both of your thoughts on this. The way Dave looked into his eyes and stated it made me feel like it was truly from the heart. And when it comes to Van Halen, I can never be too sure. Maybe we need that psychologist from Breaking the Band documentary, or lack there a better word, to come in and tell us what's really going on. Just kidding, of course. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to read my letter, and I hope you continue your podcast. If you do, I promise to fulfill your millennial demographic. Happy trails, Ryan Clark. Well, Ryan, it's great to hear that such a young person is listening to Van Halen, just not us old geezers, listening to the band. It's so
I'm not an old geezer. Speak for yourself.
Okay, all right. I know you need to keep spry to... All right, I'm just going to let that one go. I don't want to get in any trouble here.
Come on, take the bait.
See, you just love to bait me. You're not an old geezer. Let's put it this way. Sorry. In his eyes, in Ryan's eyes, you are an old geezer. I'm not.
Well, no, but I am very happy. I'm always very happy to hear and see that people younger than us are listening to the band and fans.
Because that's the only way the band is going to live on. I mean,
that's right.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Anyway, Ryan, I think it's great that you're into Van Halen. But to answer your question, I think David Lee Roth really thought at that moment that might be the last time he's on stage with those guys. I don't think it's going to be. I think Dave will be on tour with them next year. I get that feeling. But I think at that time, the end was eminently near. And I think Dave might have felt that. And there's also rumors that there was some sort of end of contract situation.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think, it's a very sentimental moment from a non-sentimental guy. So I sincerely hope there's love there between those guys. I mean, I've said this before. I don't understand how there can't be. I mean, I just think that they have been through too much together and know each other way too long. From high school, I mean, really, really young, these guys were in a band together. And even if you're not best friends, there's got to be some level of camaraderie based on what they've experienced together. So what do you think, Dave?
I think Ryan hit the nail right on the head, and he's not the only one who noticed that at the last show.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That it was kind of, because people were kind of like, is this the last show ever?
Yeah, I know.
Because he was really like it was like a curtain call almost. Some people were kind of like getting nervous, like, are we not going to see them again? So the longer the band takes to do something, the more we're like, all right, maybe that was the last show. I think Dave was just hedging his bet in case it was the last show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to quote a Dave song, hey, you never know. Right?
That's right.
So I hope it's not, but if it was, Dave got in his public thank you, which I thought was really nice because he didn't have to do that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Let's be honest, you don't really see moments like that at a Van Halen show. You don't see anything personal at all. Usually they're just rolling. I mean, maybe a joke.
No, I know. That's the
Dave.
surprise. They stick to the script, and that's what they do. So,
Or a little joke from Dave, or a little moment, Dave flirting with a girl in the audience. Like, there's never anything, like, real. that like they're
Right,
addressing.
right,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
So letter number 7 comes from Gary Ashley, and Gary's from Evansville, Indiana. Okay, so he says, I love the segment on if you could travel back to any past concert and take anyone you want from the last episode. And he goes, I was really shocked to hear that Dave number 2 say he would take you with him, meaning me. I figured he would take Ron. Oh, snap. You got Lale there. So,
I should take Ron, and actually, we should let Ron pick which concert he wants to go back to, because that guy is the king of bootlegs. So I would be really curious which concert he would want to go back to.
Well, we'll ask Ron that, or Ron, if you're listening to this and you want to write a letter back in, we'd love to hear your answer on that. I love the jab from Gary. Are you sure your last name isn't Sharon? That's what I asked.
Well, Dave, you better watch it. You better behave, or I am going to take Ron in that DeLorean and take him instead of you. So my God!
So
you better be careful.
I'm being threatened here. So now I got a gun to my head, and I got to behave, and now I feel like I'm with my wife. What the hell?
I was just going to say, you must feel like you're at home now.
Yeah, exactly. I feel nice and relaxed. So there's the next letter, number 8, comes from Steve Owens. And Steve is from Overland Park, Kansas. And he says, hello, Daves. Thanks so much for taking the time to read and respond to my email during your last podcast, which is number 32. I'm a Van Halen fanatic, and as you know, there's not a lot coming from the Van Halen camp lately, so I appreciate the work that you guys do to help quench the thirst of people like me worldwide. I have a few clarifications and a correction or two from episode number 32 and a Van Halen trivia challenge for you and your listeners at the bottom of this letter. Number 1, the guitar featured on the cover, Women and Children First, was Ed's heavily modified Ibanez Destroyer, not a Flying V. Ed's Ibanez Destroyer was used to record about half the songs on their debut album. The songs that didn't require a whammy bar on their first album were recorded with this guitar, and the white and black Frankenstrat was used to record the rest. After recording Van Halen 1, Ed cut a large section of wood out of the body of the Destroyer, gave it some stripes, and attached chains to it. This modified guitar is commonly referred to as the shark guitar, and Ed continued to use it on stage, making the modifications because he liked the way it looked, but taking a chunk of wood out of the body made it sound terrible, so he never recorded with it again. Ed did use the 58 Flying V for several songs on the 1984 album, including Hot for Teacher, Drop Dead Legs, and Girl Gone Bad. So we're going to address one thing at a time. I just flippantly referred to it as the Flying V. Obviously, I'm not a guitarist, but I know what you're saying there. I appreciate the correction there and the specific detail on that. Thank you very much on that. And he gets into number 2. He says, Alan Fitzgerald, who's the keyboard tech and Night Ranger keyboardist. We call him Fitz. He's a nickname, Fitz. And he says, I've often wondered whether Alan was more excited about being Ed's keyboard tech or playing keyboards for Night Ranger. LOL. With Night Ranger, he got to play on stage and share the glory with the band. With Van Halen, he got to play on stage but was hidden behind the curtains. That's right, it's well documented in interviews that Alan was hidden behind curtains. Alan played all the keyboard parts live backstage. Ed used to sequence the keyboard parts, but I think that came to an end after the embarrassing transposed jump fiasco. So, yeah, I'll address that. It was wild to hear that. I wasn't 100% aware of that, but I had thought Eddie just recorded them and sequenced them. And I longed for the day when Ed used to play keyboards himself with a guitar strapped around him. That was like during the 5150 era and part of the OU812 Monsters of Rock tour. I thought it was cool that Ed would play keyboards live. I thought that added to the show, and I like when Sammy used to pick up his guitar parts. I thought that added dimension to the band. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, I agree. In fact, I never realized that Fitz was actually playing at some point. I'm not sure what he's talking about, the jump fiasco.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I'd like some more info on that, if he could write in again.
Sure.
Because I've never heard that before, and I'd really like to understand what that was all about. Unless he's talking about, I was going to say like the 5150 tour when, Sam wouldn't quite sing Jump all the time, but Eddie was playing keyboards at that time.
Yeah, no, so I don't think that's what he's referring to, no.
But anyway, Fitz a great keyboard player.
Yeah.
But I would much rather hear the band play, and I agree with you 1,000,000%. I think it's great when Sam would pick up guitar and It definitely added dimension, and I think the band just never latched on to a great possibility in the studio and live.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
live they did once in a while,
Yeah.
but I think in the studio they really could have, because Sam always underrates himself as a guitar player.
Totally.
And I really think